Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping it sports with them three.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
Are you ready?
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Are you ready? Are you ready for
Place for the best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic.
Hey, man, this time I'm gonna do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's your host, M3, Mike Rosansky. Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm, of course, your host, Mike M3 Rosansky, coming to you here on this Monday, the 29th day of December, the final Monday of the month. Hell, the final Monday of the year as we get ready to close the books on 2025 and head into 2026. But still got a little bit of juice left in this year and a lot of things to talk about. Hopefully all of you had a very good holiday season. To all of my friends out there that celebrate it much like I do, hope you all had a great Christmas. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, had a better Christmas than the NFL did, because they come off as looking like total pigs, total greedy bastards, what they did on Thursday, on Christmas Day. For the longest time, Christmas Day had always been the NBA's day on the sports calendar. Occasionally, there would be some crossover for the NFL if, say, Christmas fell on Monday or Sunday, or even the occasional Saturday, though more times than not in the past, I can remember what they would do is if Christmas fell on Sunday, they'd put most of the games on Saturday and still have a Sunday night game. Or if, as we've seen in the last 15 years with Thursday night football being a prominent thing, you'd still have your one Thursday night game. But the NFL, by and large part, would stay out of Christmas until about 6 years ago or so. They snuck in there on a Friday, an afternoon game between the Vikings and the Saints, and slowly but surely began infiltrating Christmas Day. Though 2 years ago, they would try to tell us, oh, we'll never have games on either Tuesday or Wednesday. That turned into a total lie when Netflix came running to them saying, hey, we'll throw a whole bunch of money at you guys if you'll have a doubleheader on Christmas Day last year when it was on a Wednesday. And because they couldn't get enough of themselves, they decided to have a triple header on Christmas. And it came back to burn them because none of those games had any significance behind them. None of those games had anything that will, by and large part, factor into playoff seeding outside of the importance of the game for the Broncos in locking up the AFC West and still being alive for the 1 seed in the AFC postseason. But you had a down year by the Dallas Cowboys, an injury-plagued year by the Commanders, both teams eliminated playing a meaningless game. The Vikings never really getting started this year behind second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy. A down year for the Lions were the loss of both of their coordinators and a whole bunch of injuries on the defensive side came back to bite them. They were eliminated from playoff contention in a game where they were never really in against the Vikings on Thursday. And then you have the nightcap with the Broncos against the Chiefs and no Chiefs in the playoffs. And on top of that, Patrick Mahomes out for the season. So the NFL got the lump of coal that they deserved. Maybe this will teach them a lesson moving forward to stop being such greedy pigs and stay on their own days. If Christmas falls on Thursday, Sunday, or Monday, yeah, you can have your traditional as far as the way you normally do the schedule. But don't go out of your way to make the day about you. All right. Leave Christmas Day for the NBA. You don't see them try to invade Thanksgiving, which has always been your holiday. So don't invade their holiday. Probably the only ones that had a lump of coal in their stockings or anywhere close to that kind of unhappiness as the league did were the Indianapolis Colts. And somewhere Sauce Gardner's got to be sitting there saying to himself, wait a minute, I go from as bad a situation as there is in the NFL, the New York Jets, to a team that looked like they were in playoff contention. A team that 2 months ago had the best record in the AFC. And now we sit here and they're not in the postseason. And that draft pick just keeps going higher and higher or lower, depending on how you view it, for the New York Jets at 18th overall as we currently sit here. And I've never seen a collapse like this. Starting off 7-1, followed by a 1-6 slide. And I know that there were a lot of circumstances that played into things here. Daniel Jones, after his brilliance the first 2 months of the season, started to slow down a little bit before he had his Achilles injury. That led to teams stacking the box against Jonathan Taylor, saying that, hey, we are not going to let you beat us. We'll let your quarterback try to beat us, but you're not going to be the one. And you saw a slowing in his productivity from the first 8 games to now the last 7 games, where he goes from leading the league in rushing yards per game to dropping by about 15 yards per game and only having 5 touchdowns in the last 7 games compared to having 12 in the first 8. Listen, I give Phillip Rivers a lot of credit for coming out of retirement and giving this a try, giving this a go, trying to help out a buddy. And that's essentially what this felt like in him trying to help out Shane Steichen in what was a really bad situation for them. But it was not meant to be for Indianapolis. And now they sit here in really a damning spot as they head into an offseason with uncertainty at the quarterback position. I don't think you can ask a 45-year-old Phillip Rivers to return again next year, can you? You're in all likelihood, if you do re-sign Daniel Jones, not going to have him until around Halloween time next year with the amount of time it takes to recover from Achilles surgery. Anthony Richardson at this point is a lost cause. I don't know what you could truly hope to expect from him. He's been a bust since you took him 5th overall 3 years ago. Pretty much their equivalent of the Jets reaching up for Zach Wilson. And Riley Leonard is kind of what he is, a 6th-round draft pick who you hope can be a solid backup. And now they sit at home watching the postseason like the rest of us and watching what is about to be a very fascinating Week 18. A Week 18 where, even though the NFL doesn't deserve it, as I said, they're a bunch of pigs for the way they handled Christmas Day. There's going to be a lot to look forward to this Week 18. I'm sitting here on this Monday afternoon, and while I don't like to fast forward through this thing we call life, I like to take every day and enjoy it for what it is. And when it gets there, then we'll worry about that. But I sit here on this Monday afternoon really excited about what we have coming our way here in Week 18, with still so much up for grabs heading into the final weekend of the season. I mean, you've got the NFC South, who seemingly no one wants to win. And quite frankly, it's shameful for the Buccaneers that we're sitting here in this position. I don't want to hear about them not having Mike Evans for 2 months there. You still had more than enough weaponry. You still had more than enough on that defense. and such a humongous lead on the Carolina Panthers, who got off to a bad start before going on a little bit of a cute run here, had that 5-2 stretch that got them in the mix of what you thought would be maybe teasing wildcard contention going into the month of December. But you never expected them to be running down the Buccaneers for the division and put themselves in a position going into Saturday afternoon where the Buccaneers need a lot of help, a lot of things to go right to win this division. The Panthers have so many avenues that they can win the division. They can win it with a win, can win it with a tie, or even if they lose the game to the Bucs. And mind you, I'm recording this podcast before we even have Monday Night Football tonight. But the Falcons are playing the Rams on Monday Night Football. In the unlikelihood that the Falcons go out there and beat the Rams, and then come back on Sunday and beat the New Orleans Saints, it doesn't matter what happens in this game. The Carolina Panthers would win the division, whether that be at 8-1, 8-9, 9-8. They would have the tiebreaker over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whereas the Bucs need to win this game and get at least one loss by the Atlanta Falcons. That loss, I think they are going to get tonight when the Rams face them on Monday Night Football. And then the Rams are going to be left sitting there watching how things play out in the NFC West. I told you this last week, and it's turned out to be true. That loss on Thursday Night Football has come back and bit them right in the rear end, as they're going to be watching, we'll all be watching on Saturday night, a game between the 49ers and Seahawks that is not exactly winner take all, because with the Buccaneers and Panthers, both of those teams need to get in the postseason through winning the division. There is no wild card that is going to save their rear ends. Whereas the 49ers and Seahawks, they know they're in. It's just about whether or not they are going to have to play 4 games to win a Super Bowl or only 3. Because the winner of this game not just clinches the NFC West, it also clinches the 1 seed in the NFC postseason. And how remarkable would that be if the 49ers are the 1 seed in the NFC postseason when you think of what they have gone through this year? Last night, they're playing without George Kittle, and they've had so many injuries. We've not seen Brandon Ayuk at all this year due to his Achilles injury. They lost Nick Bosa in week 3 to a torn ACL. Fred Warner dislocated an ankle in week 6, and there is some thought that with the way his rehab has been able to ramp up, he could be available for an NFC championship game if they get that far. They've been without, at times, Brock Purdy due to turf toe. Ricky Pearsall missed 7 games. They're without for the last 7 games their first-round pick Miles Williams due to a knee injury. George Kittle missed his 6th game of the year last night, and still, Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh have this team in a position where they can not just win the division, but potentially host the entire postseason, because the Super Bowl on February 8th is out there in Santa Clara, California at Levi Stadium. So they could play their entire postseason, albeit if they win their games, at home in the comfort of their own beds. And we've seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do this. We've seen the LA Rams do this in recent memory. The 49ers have put themselves in a great spot to do so after winning last night against the Bears in a game where it pretty much turned into a shootout where you're thinking last team to have the ball is going to win this game, although their defense came up with that big stop at the end, forcing Caleb Williams to have that skip throw into the end zone. And going up against a Seahawks team on Saturday where, listen, I love Sam Darnold. I've been a big fan of his since he was in college. My fandom of him didn't deter when he was with the Jets because I knew how bad that situation was with both Todd Bowles and then Robert Saleh in charge of things. And the last couple of places he's been in both Minnesota under Kevin O'Connell and now with Mike McDonald out there in Seattle, he's flourished. And you've seen why he was projected to be such a good quarterback coming into the NFL. But he has struggled recently. Even though the Seahawks have been still winning games, it's been, quite frankly, despite Sam Darnold, with some of the turnovers he's making and the mistakes he's been avoiding so far for the last 5 games. They've been very fortunate that the Rams did not put the stake in the ground and put the death nail on them in locking up the NFC West. They went up against a Carolina team yesterday that had no offense whatsoever. And you look at that NFC South, get back to them for a moment. Does anybody really want to win that division? Because it was right there for Carolina to lock up, with the Buccaneers losing to a 4th-string quarterback in Quinn Evers yesterday. And they muster only 140 yards of offense. I know Seattle's defense is awesome. They're elite. But still, to put up that kind of performance has me question what we're going to see and what could be a very ugly slugfest or slogfest, if you want to call it that, of a game on Saturday afternoon. Then we get to the AFC South, where for the Jaguars, it's win, and you get to host a home playoff game. Texans, they need the Jaguars to lose and for them to defeat the Colts on Sunday. For the Jaguars, there's still more on the line than just the division, because they win and get losses by both the Broncos and Patriots, they would be the 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. But with the Patriots playing the Dolphins in Foxborough, I fully expect the Dolphins to just mail that game in, and for at least one of the Broncos or the Patriots to get that spot ahead of the Jaguars. And it's going to make me absolutely sick to my stomach if the Patriots do this. I was saying this to a guy at the Jets-Patriots game yesterday. It's absolutely ridiculous that they have gone from 20 years of greatness with Tom Brady, and 5 minutes later, Mike Vrabel comes in, saves the day. They find their new quarterback in Drake May, and now they look like they're going to be a top-tier team for at least next decade. Shouldn't there be some kind of rule that they have to go through 30 years of misery like the Jets after having all that greatness with Tom Brady? Shouldn't there be some kind of penalty or emotional karma against them for Spygate and Deflategate? That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is another example of what I tell you all the time. Life sucks, and then you die. Plenty more to get to when it comes to the NFL, because I'm going to save my thoughts about the AFC North coming up next here. Give you also some thoughts on the NBA, mix in some thoughts on baseball as we're heading into the new year, and got to get to the Jets. Haven't talked about them in a couple of weeks. So there's a lot I want to get to, a lot on the plate here for the next about 40 minutes or so here. Glad you guys could join me once again this week. And like I tell you each and every single Monday afternoon, please sit back, relax, help put your feet up if you feel like it, and continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Now, there is one more thing that is on the line as far as postseason berths, postseason contention is concerned heading into Week 18. And I don't like to pat myself on the back, although I will do so here. But I had been telling people over the last several days that if Steelers-Ravens was to decide the AFC North, they would put that in prime time either on Saturday night or Sunday night football for either NBC or ESPN to call that game. It just so happens this will be, as Mike Tirico said last night, the 272nd and final game of the NFL season. One game to decide the division. One game for it all. Winner moves on to the postseason and hosts a playoff game against a team that will be at minimum 11-6 or possibly even 12-5 in the first round in wildcard weekend, while the loser goes home. And you think about this between these two fierce rivals, a rivalry that has been going on for a long time, pretty much the existence of the Ravens franchise for the last 30 years. It's not one of these manufactured rivalries where over time teams play each other enough, like the Manning Brady era or now with Mahomes and Josh Allen. This is a legitimately heated one as these two teams play each other twice a year, and sometimes we get fortunate enough where they both make the postseason and play each other a third time. But you have so much surrounding this game, so much noise surrounding this game heading into Sunday that the outcome here is going to be fascinating. And the Steelers could have put an end to all of this yesterday against the Cleveland Browns, but it seemed like they were more focused on stopping Myles Garrett from setting the single season sack record, which would have taken away the record currently tied by Michael Strahan and current Steeler TJ Watt, than they were about winning this game. And you put up 6 points on the road against the Cleveland Browns, who have nothing to play for. And you had two opportunities at the end of that game where you had the ball on your final drives on fourth down, and you turn it over both times, including you have the ball in the red zone, 30 seconds to go. You have first and goal on the 10-yard line. Rodgers has 4 consecutive incompletions to Adam Thielen and then 3 to Valdez-Scantling. And with how Cleveland's defense was playing all day, they were not going to give you a bailout there against Denzel Ward with Rodgers crying, complaining, saying that was pass interference on the play. Hell, the play before that, you could have avoided this. You missed a wide open Valdez-Scantling right in the middle of the end zone. So you got nothing to cry about. Going 3 for 15 on third down, did nothing offensively against a Browns team that still is unsure if they have their quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. Really nothing to play for other than pride and potential draft position. And they held you guys to 6 points. I don't care that you lost Darnell Washington or that you were without DK Metcalf. That's his fault for acting like a dumbass last week against the Detroit Lions and swinging at a fan. I don't care what the fan says or what kind of history he has with them. You can't be going over the stands and swinging at a fan. But now you've put yourselves in a position where either you win at home or you're going home. The Pittsburgh Steelers, for a long time to me, have been a team that refuses to read the room, refuses to realize that there are real issues there. They refuse to move on from greats on their team. That's why they're paying everybody on the defense, and a lot of them are getting a little bit long in the tooth. And you're in a spot where they're almost like a kind of a Pandora's box or whatever you want to call it, where they've never been really bad enough to draft that true long-term successor for Ben Roethlisberger, but they are also not good enough to compete and challenge for a Super Bowl. Whether they win this week and go 10-7, tie and go 9-7-1, or lose and go 9-8. That's pretty much the ceiling for this team that they have put themselves in. And listen, Aaron Rodgers is 41, 42 years old? He gave you a really good season this year. But can you truly expect him to come back next year at 42 and repeat that performance, give you another great year like this? What's funny about this is all of the questions that have been asked about Mike Tomlin's future and whether this is it. If they lose and miss the postseason or go out early in the postseason, do they feel that it's finally time and make their first coaching change in 20 years? All of those questions you can now ask about the Baltimore Ravens as well. I mean, you look at the Ravens, the opportunity has been right there in front of them. They raced back from a awful 1-5 start. The Steelers never quite put their foot on their throat and ran away with the division like they should have, even with Lamar Jackson hobbled at times. Now you're starting to see these reports that have come out in the last week from the Baltimore Sun explaining how there's tension in the room between Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. And even though John Harbaugh has been in the last couple of days not giving any credence to these sources and saying that his relationship with Lamar Jackson is at an A-plus level, the Ravens are typically an organization that you see very buttoned up, an organization that you don't hear a lot of off-the-field noise or noise from when it comes to practice days or in the meeting rooms. But the fact that this is getting out and went to a credible writer there, someone that doesn't just spit out hot takes, someone that when they speak, people typically listen, shows me that where there is smoke, there is a little bit of fire here. When you're hearing how Lamar Jackson is getting preferential treatment, they're not having morning practices because he's staying up late playing video games. He's falling asleep in team meetings, and supposedly John Harbaugh is becoming tired of the two-time MVP. While they've had so much success together in the 8 years that they've been together, they've won the division title 4 times, been the number 1 seed twice. They have never gotten to the Super Bowl together. There's always been that roadblock, whether it be Josh Allen and the Bills, blocking them from getting to the AFC Championship game, or losing out AFC Championship games to the likes of the Patriots with Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. There's always been something that stood in their way. And this is that year where you would think there's nothing in their way. There's no Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. The Buffalo Bills are going to likely have to play a lot of their postseason on the road. There's no Burrow and the Bengals. So the opportunity's right there for the Ravens. They're just not grasping that opportunity. And you wonder if their season goes down the tubes this Sunday night. Whether Lamar plays or not, because he is still dealing with that back issue from week 16. They rode the back of Derrick Henry to a dominant win over the Packers on Saturday night. But if they fall to the Steelers this coming Sunday night, could we see some kind of a change there? Could the organization finally say, you know what? We've had a great run here with John Harbaugh, but it's time for a change for change's sake. Or could they say, hey, we haven't won that championship with Lamar. Injuries are starting to pile up. He's still at an age where we could get something for him. If the Las Vegas Raiders are getting the 1 pick overall, could we maybe entice them to trade that to us for Lamar Jackson? Or could we entice the Miami Dolphins to trade a boatload of picks to us for him? Because those, if you read this Baltimore Sun article, are his 2 preferred destinations. And this game on Sunday night is fascinating on so many levels. For both of these teams moving forward, it's going to have an immense impact. One of these 2 franchises is not going to come back next season the way we're seeing them right now. Whether there's a change in the head coach hierarchy or there's a change at the quarterback position, it's really their last chance, their last hurrah with the group as presently constituted to do anything at a significant level. And especially in the case of the Ravens, I almost think that you can throw the Bills in here with them as well. Because, yeah, the Bills are going to be going on the road for most of the postseason unless things break right for them and they somehow get a matchup in the AFC Championship game against another wild card team. I can have one more game up there in Orchard Park beyond this Sunday. These teams, mainly talking about the Ravens, Bills now, missed out on a golden opportunity, or at risk of missing out of a golden opportunity this year, with Mahomes not there in their way. And they have a whole bunch of teams in this postseason where you have quarterbacks that have never been to the big dance or have limited playoff experience compared to that of Josh Allen and of Lamar Jackson. They're risking missing out on a potential great opportunity to finally get that championship. That is the one thing missing from both of these guys' resume. That's why I don't blame the Bills for going for that 2-point conversion against the Eagles late yesterday. Rather than playing another 10 minutes of overtime action, go for the win there and possibly still put yourselves in position going into Week 18 where you could be hosting playoff games rather than going on the road for the entire postseason. But these teams, these veteran-laced teams, Bills, Ravens, Steelers, if they don't get it done this year, if they don't get that championship, I predict at least one, possibly more of these teams, you're looking at them in the last days of these head coach quarterback marriages. And in all likelihood, the quarterbacks, especially in the cases of the Ravens and the Bills, are going to be the ones that stay. And they'll be looking at a new man on top of running their team, trying to get that championship.
I'll be back.
It's honestly really funny to me how roped in people can get on certain topics, how people can be so easy to fall for the banana peel when it comes to certain topics in the sports world. What we saw last Monday night between Draymond Green and his head coach, Steve Kerr, was overblown as far as level of big deal and talked about by people in the media and on social media. When I saw this on SportsCenter late Monday night heading into Tuesday, I kind of shrugged my shoulders. I kind of was like, all right, the sky is blue, the grass is green, we have air and oxygen. And Draymond Green and Steve Kerr got into a heated exchange during a game. Tell me what else is new. These two guys have been together for 12 years here. You got to imagine that this has happened on more than one occasion. Hell, it's probably happened on more than one occasion during this season. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll fill you in. Last Monday night, in the third quarter of their eventual blowout victory over the Orlando Magic, Steve Kerr and Draymond Green got in a bit of a heated exchange during a timeout in the third quarter after Draymond Green had just committed a turnover, had been getting into argument with an official. When Kerr called the timeout, said that the team was unfocused, and I'm only going to assume here that Draymond Green felt that those comments were directed toward him. That led to his outburst, and he would go to leave the bench with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, and wouldn't return to the bench until the start of the fourth quarter, leading to multiple teammates, including Jimmy Butler and Al Horford, to have to go check out him back in the locker room, make sure he's cool. Come on, people. This kind of thing, even though we haven't seen an outburst where Draymond walks off and heads to the locker room like this much, these kind of arguments have happened plenty of times over the years. They've been a coach-player tandem for 12 years now. And they've had so much success together, winning 4 championships there, along with, of course, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, who I still think, with how poor the Mavericks have been this year, there's still a shot that Klay Thompson works his way back to the Warriors at some point and finishes his career there with Kerr, Draymond, and Steph Curry. But you're not going to have always kumbaya in the workplace or in any setting in life where you're around people all the time, whether it's with coworkers, friends, family members. Hell, there have been plenty of times where I've gotten into arguments and disagreements at work with coworkers. And usually those disagreements are with people that I'm friends with or get along with great and have really good relationships. When you have alpha male personalities or big prominent people in these roles, there's going to be disagreements at times. So all of the people questioning this or saying this is going to have some lasting impact on the Warriors season, they're being a bit ridiculous here. The bigger concern here is that the Warriors are 16-16 and currently 8th in the Western Conference. And if you're 8th, that means you're going to have to play in the play-in games. With the kind of roster that the Warriors have, with the age they have there, with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, and some of their young guys not exactly taking that step to showing that they could be the next core of this team, they can't be sitting there in one of those play-in spots. If they want to have any kind of significance to this season and make any kind of deep playoff run, they've got to be in one of those top 6 spots. You know, the same can possibly be said for the Lakers, especially when you have an aging player like LeBron James. And I've never been one of those that has been a LeBron hater or had any real LeBron fatigue. I've always respected him for the immense talent he is. Yeah, he can be a bit annoying off the court, especially with the decision years ago. But there's been nothing off the court really in the last several years that made you shake your head. But even I, in the last week, have started to have a little bit of LeBron fatigue when I see his comments coming out complaining about the fact that he's got to play on Christmas Day. I mean, dude, you should be fortunate that your game is a home game rather than having to go on the road. You at least got to sleep in your own bed and get to the arena via your own car, your own form of transportation, rather than having to be sleeping in a hotel somewhere away from your family and taking a bus to the arena. But his comments talking about how I'd so much rather be at home with my family. Well, I grew up as a kid watching Christmas Day and play in a lot of games on Christmas Day. It's an honor. To be honest, I'd like to be at home on the couch. Then, dude, go home. All right? No one said at 42 years old or whatever he's about to turn tomorrow that you have to still be playing NBA basketball. It almost feels like at this point where he acts like he's doing us some kind of favor with him playing. And even I, as someone that has respect for the guy, can understand where all of the haters or trolls or whatever you want to call them on social media are like, enough, LeBron, shut the hell up and go play basketball. You have a gift that a lot of other people would dream about. You're one of the 2 or 3 greatest players in the history of this sport. And you're constantly complaining about scheduling, complaining about playing on certain holidays, complaining about anything just to have your voice heard. I mean, enough. If anything, the bigger concern for the Lakers and Lakers fans right now should not be your irritance or annoyance on playing on Christmas Day. It's the fact that one of your best players in Austin Reeves is now going to be out for a month with a grade 2 calf issue. And this is something you've got to monitor. This is something that is going to be looked at closely over the next little while because, as we've seen many times before, calf issues can eventually lead to an Achilles tear. And he had already been sidelined for a couple of games recently due to this injury. Came back recently, looked like he was past it, before once again getting injured last Thursday in their Christmas game against the Rockets. So now you're without him. LeBron James is getting up there in age. He's going to be 41 tomorrow. You've got concern coming out of the organization that Luka may have started to put it back on some of the weight. And now JJ Redick is publicly criticizing his team through the media. And there's so much drama surrounding a team that's 20-10, fourth in the Western Conference. You've got all of this nonsense surrounding them and the head coach ripping them, questioning their effort. And add on top of it now, one of your best players is down with an injury for about a month. This is why people find the Lakers so hard to deal with, why they are a very easy to root against franchise. Now, a team that's very easy to root for, even despite them being a division and local rival of my team, is the New York Knicks. And listen, at the time, I thought they made a mistake firing Tom Thibodeau, but they have been the gift that keeps on giving for New York Knicks fans as they sit here right now with the second best record in the Eastern Conference. And their offense has not struggled one bit with losing Tom Thibodeau. In fact, I think you could make the argument that their offense might be better than it was under Tom Thibodeau, because you're not burning guys out. You're not running guys into the ground. With the exception of Mikal Bridges, you've seen all of these guys get a maintenance day over the last week or two. Towns, Hart, Brunson got a rest night last week in their game against the Timberwolves. Anunoby get a breather right after the NBA Cup. McBride, hell, even though I give Mike Brown a lot of credit with how he's using this bench, and you have a team that is legitimately 10 and 12 deep with some of the young players led by Tyler Cole finally starting to get some run. So where you have so much drama surrounding some of these teams in the West, out East, the Knicks are continuing to handle their business relatively drama-free. And I said it last week, I'll say it again. As great a player as he is, I would not make the trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let this team play things out this year. Let this team have their run, hopefully fully healthy, and let's see if they can do some special things heading into the month of April.
I'll be back.
Now, as we head into the new year, hopefully baseball will start to pick up as far as their offseason is concerned, because you still have so many big names still out there, both as far as sluggers for some of these lineups. Both teams in this area could use a guy like Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker in their lineup. And you have plenty of pitchers still available, both in free agency and on the trade market, that it almost makes you sick as both a Yankee and a Met fan that they have not thoroughly addressed some of their issues. I mean, the Yankees have made the around the margins kind of moves, but they made one blunder in giving the qualifying offer to Trent Grisham. Now that it seems like their offseason's being held up on whether to re-sign Cody Bellinger or not, because they'd like to give him a 4 to 5 year at max kind of deal, whereas him and Scott Boras are looking for at minimum a 7-year deal. And then we've been through the trial and tribulations with the Mets, where they've traded away a lot of fan favorites including most recently trading Jeff McNeil just as last week's podcast was getting done. They haven't addressed the starting pitching at all. And then it gets annoying when you see both teams could clearly use another arm out of the bullpen. In the Mets case, if they do address the starting pitching, I think it's going to be adding from within with taking Clay Holmes out of the rotation and putting him back in the bullpen with his two former and now once again teammates in Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. In the case of the Yankees, they've got a lot of questions when it comes to what leads up to closer David Bednar. And when you see a team like the Marlins, who are actively potentially trying to trade some of their starting pitching, signing a guy like Pete Fairbanks to a 1-year, $13 million deal, it's aggravating because the Yankees could use Fairbanks in their bullpen. He'd be a very good addition there to set up David Bednar. Now, maybe he views this as an opportunity to close, but I don't think the Marlins are going to be any good next year. So he's going to be available at the trade deadline. And when you have a guy that has elite level stuff like he does, yes, injuries have been a factor in his career the last couple of years. But last season, he pitched in at least 60 games, had an ERA in the mid-twos, saved 27 games, was amongst one of the better closers in baseball when it came to strikeout rate and strikeouts to walk ratio. This would have been an excellent add for either one of these bullpens. And even if he had agreed to that 1-year deal that he agreed to with the Marlins, he still could have gone out there and got closer money next year, like we saw with the Mets doing with Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. Guys, even if they're not used in the closer role by a team, will get paid big money. Williams is getting $17 million this year. Weaver's getting $11 million the next couple of years. I thought this was a greatly missed opportunity by the Yankees to add an electric arm to their bullpen, something that, while they have talent there, doesn't provide you a lot of confidence as we sit here at the end of December, just 6 weeks away from the start of spring training. And you hope that the Yankees and Mets start to make these winter months more active, that the Knicks continue to be a good story and give you something to root for, because you're not getting that from the football team. Whereas today you have Giant fans pissed off that they went to Las Vegas and beat the Vegas Raiders, which I could have told you from a mile away that was going to happen after they put both Brock Bowers and Max Crosby on the injured reserve. And with Max Crosby storming out there and not even being at the game yesterday, you had the feeling that that team was just going to lay down and have no motivation to play the Giants. But even with as bad as the New York Jets have been, I would have thought they would come out with a little bit of pride yesterday in their home finale. Yes, the Jets lack talent all across the board. And I have been one that has said if the Jets do not get the first overall pick in the draft, are not in position to draft Fernando Mendoza, that I would just use those picks, build up the roster, and potentially trade up in next year's draft where it seems like it's going to be deeper at the quarterback position. But yesterday was an outright embarrassment, their performance against the New England Patriots. Yes, the Patriots are better than the Jets. They have their head coach and quarterback situation figured out. But yesterday felt like you were playing a game at Gillette in the middle of the Meadowlands. The place was about 80% full, and I would say at bare minimum, 90% of that crowd that was there yesterday was there for the New England Patriots. They had to go out of their way to find the few Jet fans that were actually in the crowd to watch that garbage, that crap that team put forward as they went out there, allowed the Patriots to score touchdowns on their first 6 drives of the game. And to show you how the Patriots have no respect for the Jets, don't take the Jets as even a credible threat to them, they're going for it on 4th down in the red zone while up 21-3 in the middle of the second quarter. You're having May scramble for 3 yards on a 4th and 3 rather than kicking a field goal. Or 4th and goal at the Jets' 3-yard line. May's hitting Stephon Diggs for a short touchdown. I mean, this was a non-competitive, to say the very least, no contest from the start. They were outscored 35-3 in the first half, outgained 344-77, and the Patriots had 8 times the number of first downs in the first half that the Jets did. Drake May easily beefed up his MVP candidacy, even though I still think Matthew Stafford will probably win that. You're watching Stephon Diggs and Ramondre Stevenson doing whatever they want to the Jets' secondary. I mean, where's the pride? Where is just showing up and being a little bit competitive, or putting someone on their ass saying, hey, you know what? My season may be coming to an end this coming Sunday, but I'm going to do something in this game that's going to impact your season. I'm going to do something here where you're potentially in a few short weeks sitting home watching the postseason on your couch just like I am. And I got to deal with the same nonsense after these games from Aaron Glenn. This first year for him has not been very glowing, has not been something where if you're doing a review, you're giving him anything positive. Darren Muji's done a good job as general manager, but remember, he had to also sign off on what Glenn decided was the best choice at quarterback coming into this year, and that was signing Justin Fields. And he was awful from the start. He has shown he is not an NFL quarterback. While he's a great athlete, he's not someone that you want being the starting quarterback for your team if you have any designs on being a winning team, which he said he was here to win now. You won 3 games of your 16, and in all likelihood going to go 3-14. No matter who the Bills put out there this Sunday, knowing that they have no shot at the division, they're not going to go out there and lay an egg against the Jets in that 425 game slot. But said nonsense all year like, oh, we'd learn what Jet football is about, what it's like to play like a Jet. Yeah, playing like a Jet yesterday is laying down to Vrabel, May, and the Patriots. We've seen that so many times in the past with Brady and Belichick. We thought we were past that, but unfortunately, the Patriots are right back to their winning ways. He told reporters that yesterday was the first time he's questioned the team's effort. Like, dude, you had the worst offense in the league for the month of December. You had a historic lows in offensive product and points scored in this last month. And he's going to have the gall to come out there after these games as well and say that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes and at practice that have shown him signs of improvement. There is not one player that has been on this team from start to finish where you could say they clearly improved this year, especially on the defensive side of things, which was supposed to be his hallmark. And then his in-game management and the way he's using timeouts at the end of the first half yesterday, thinking, oh, down 35-3, I'll try to get cute and get the ball back here. And do what? You could have given them 16 quarters to play rather than just 4, and you still were not going to get any more than 10 points against that team. And you're running out there a guy in Brady Cook who might be standing next to me at Amazon next year working. All the way around, he has not handled this first year well. Now, I still think it would be a bad idea for them to fire him after 1 year, because then you're paying another coach for multiple years. You're setting a bad precedent with how short of a span you're giving coaches here. But I have no confidence in this man running this team going into this draft, where it's going to be one of the most important drafts that this team has had in years. And you could potentially either be picking someone like Dante Moore as your future long-term quarterback to develop, or drafting players to help continue to build the foundation of this roster. Because I'll ask this again. Probably the only arguments that could be made as far as improvements on this team are at your two starting tackle positions. Those two kids have looked really good and look like they could be stabilizers for this team for the next 8, 9, 10 years here. But what about this Jet team? What has Aaron Glenn done that you can check in the positive category and say that is a good sign of things to come? What have you seen that has given you any confidence that this is the man to get this team out of this now 15-year slumber that's likely going to be 16 next season and lead them to any good days ahead? I haven't seen anything. And quite frankly, it leads me to thinking that he is not the guy to feel good about, not the guy that is going to get the Jets out of this slumber, and not the guy that I feel confident in developing the long-term answer at quarterback for this team, something that they have continuously searched for and are going to be on the hunt for once again this offseason. And that, my friends, was Keeping It Sports with M3 from Monday, December 29th, 2025. Everyone, please have a great night. Have a fun, safe, happy, healthy week, including New Year's Eve. Have fun, but don't do anything stupid. Though you do have one life, people, and I want you guys to try to live it out the best way possible. And I'll talk to you guys again, same time next week. Until then, Happy New Year, everyone. Peace.
We have to go. Good night, everybody.
I have had enough of you!
Thank you for all the fun. Thank you. Hey, shut up, will ya?
I don't want to see you, I don't want to hear you, I don't want to smell you. Now leave.
I'll be back.